If you're in the Eugene, Oregon area, you can schedule a massage at brightstarmassage.com. I also offer one-on-one video coaching across several time zones. Contact information for brightstarmassage.com is in the description. I came across a question a couple weeks ago on Facebook. It was just some growth mindset group. I don't even remember which one. The question was, how do you build confidence? And I knew immediately what the answer was for me, but I think it varies from person to person. We all have different beliefs, backgrounds, temperaments, personalities, and that influences the way that we perceive confidence and what kinds of things help us get out of a confidence slump. Everybody has confidence issues from time to time. In my coaching practice, talking to a whole bunch of people, I've noticed that pretty much everyone has some kind of an I'm not good enough complex at some time or another. And they might have this internalized voice that says, I'm not smart enough, I'm not talented enough, I'm not pretty enough, any version of that in some way boils down to I'm not good enough. And most people have those thoughts from time to time, and it can affect your confidence and your self-esteem. So I saw this question on Facebook, and I knew immediately what my answer is and what works for me. But I'm really curious how other people perceive that confidence issue, and what do you do to give yourself a confidence boost when you need one? Because I'm sure we all have different answers. So my answer is to set goals that I know I can achieve and achieve them. That makes me feel more confident. After I achieve some little goals, then I can create bigger goals and just keep on achieving. And after reading this post on Facebook and giving my answer, I was just reflecting on myself, and I realized that I really wasn't feeling very confident. I was kind of having a confidence slump at that time. And so I was just sort of reevaluating my life and my habits to try to think of a way that, I could give myself a confidence boost. So here's what I did. I can be really disciplined and on task and really organized and really productive, but I go through phases where I'm not so productive. And in the last 2 years, things have changed a lot because of the pandemic, and my routine has changed. Where I work and how I work has changed. And so it makes sense that, some of my routines have kind of fallen apart, and those things need to be revisited and updated and reevaluated from time to time. Reflecting on the last couple of years, I noticed I was kind of letting myself get away with too much. I have created and achieved goals in the last 2 years for sure, but the routine looks so different now than what it looked like 2 years ago that I feel like it needed to be restructured and organized a little bit more. So I went back to my checklist and I created some simple daily routines and goals to achieve. I made sure that I 100% achieved those things each day for a couple weeks, just to boost my confidence and make me feel better about myself overall. Because I noticed that I was kind of giving myself too much slack. And so what happened was I let myself get kind of sloppy on some of my habits. That just weakened my resolve overall, and it weakened my perception of myself. So I noticed that quite a few times when I was in bed at night falling asleep, I was kind of thinking like, wow, I didn't do that thing that I said I was going to do, or I'm not accomplishing this goal that I thought that I would, or I said I was going to do this and I didn't do it. And that makes me feel so bad about myself. And that can just wear you down after a while. If you give yourself too much slack, or when I give myself too much slack, then giving myself slack becomes easier and easier, and it kind of becomes a habit. Oh yeah, that's my checklist for the day, but I don't really have to do those things. And it just hurts my overall self-esteem when I get into phases like that, when I'm just letting myself get away with too much stuff. I can imagine maybe other people have completely different answers to this question. I could imagine that tribe recognition maybe would be a confidence boost for some people. Like if your accomplishments are acknowledged by others, that might be a little bit more important. And of course, I like it when my accomplishments are rewarded, or like when there's an external clear result, like I put a lot of work into my business and then I make more money. That's good. So those external rewards and recognition are nice. But for me, the emphasis is a little bit more on my perception of myself, and when I'm falling asleep at night, did I do the things I said I was going to do? Because if I slack off on that, it really, really hurts my self-confidence. And then it's just like this downward downward spiral that affects everything in my life. I'm less confident. My energetic presence is less confident. I make less money, and, it's just a bad cycle to be stuck in. So when I think about cleaning up my habits and kind of reevaluating them, I always put health and wellness first because I feel like it's such a huge lever. I think of it in terms of Maslow's hierarchy of needs. So on the bottom, you have like food and shelter. I'm very privileged. I have a roof over my head. I have food, so that's not like a major concern. If it was, then that would be the first priority. But then moving up the pyramid a little bit, I think there's just like health and wellness, not just basic health, but your kind of more optimized health. How's your cardiovascular health? How strong are you? How flexible? How well do you feel in terms of physically and mentally? And of course, I have loftier goals, that are beyond that. But I just feel like the physical ones are such a powerful lever, because if you have your physical health and wellness, then everything above it in that pyramid, all that self-actualization stuff, the financial stability and, relationships and family life, and then, achieving whatever your life purpose is, everything above the physical fitness is improved by being physically well. And so I always make that a priority. And it really helps me to do it first in the day. Before I get distracted by other things, just get the exercise done. So I've been doing some cardio and some strength training. I do save the stretching for later in the day just because it's a relaxing way for me to unwind, to do like 20 or 30 minutes of stretching. So I created these physical goals of cardio, strength, flexibility to do every day. And then the other goal that I set was just some little daily improvements to focus on my massage therapy business, because I've sort of slacked off in terms of marketing the massage therapy business during the pandemic, because everything was just like so crazy and weird. And my business also was just sort of running off of the momentum of all the work that I put into my search engine optimization pre-pandemic. So it was still doing pretty well. People are finding me on Google. And that just had enough momentum that it sort of carried me through. When you're a small business owner, you always need to have some kind of funnel. Like, even if you're busy, you need to be funneling new people in some way, even if it's just like a little trickle of new people, so that you're, always exposed to new clients. So I set some goals to do some daily tasks regarding my business. Those things actually paid off right away. One of the things that happens when you're self-employed is that sometimes you put effort in a certain direction and there's just no response. There's no result at all. And it doesn't even necessarily mean that you did it wrong. You could do like some kind of marketing outreach and it just falls flat. Nobody responds. And sometimes there's nothing wrong with your message or the way that you delivered it. It's just a coincidence. It's like 1,000 people heard your message and no one was interested. So it's really easy to get discouraged, but you have to just get back up and do it again and be consistent, because, not only do you have to do effective marketing in terms of a message that's worded correctly, but you also have to do it consistently over time, because sometimes there is no response. Sometimes it's just a weird season. People are distracted with the holidays or a down economy, or they're transitioning back to school, and just for one reason or another, there was no response for that specific effort that you did. So that's why you have to, keep doing it. So I did some reevaluation of my website and some marketing, and it paid off big. So there was a response, and that was great. And now I just need to, continue visiting that weekly and being consistent with it. So I'm feeling much more confident. And I'm really glad that I saw that Facebook post, because my answer was automatic. I know what I need to do for me, because that's how my confidence works, is setting goals and achieving them builds confidence, and following through and doing what I said I would do builds confidence. And the post was just kind of like a check-in with myself that like, oh, hey, I'm actually not feeling very confident. What can I do about that? And even though the response is automatic, I know what I should do. I know what works for me. I wasn't actually doing it. So it was just like a wake-up call to reevaluate and put some of those things into action, because most of us, most of the time, know what we should do, but we're not always necessarily doing it. So it was a good check-in for me. So those are just some thoughts on how to increase confidence. That's how it works for me. I'm curious how it works for other people. I'm sure there's a wide variety of answers to that question, and I'd love to hear your answer. So let me know in the comments.